I'm earmarking for her.
Nice.
Yep.
I like it. Yeah, I like it because that's my plan. I just had a son like 2 days ago. And so before he was born, the goal was always to get something for him. So looking at some stuff so I can make that happen for him. Because the whole like Brandon Turner, you buy the house, that pay down pays for everything, the appreciation, all that stuff, and also the cash flow over the years. So that's dope.
Yeah. Yeah, real estate is powerful, man. It's definitely been a blessing.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see. She should be on in a second. You know Rashauna, right?
No, I don't.
You know Rashauna? Oh, wow. She's out of Chicago. I'm actually in Southern California.
Okay. I probably recognize everybody more so from Instagram handles rather than names. Because I'm sure everybody, probably follows everybody. Like my guy's Malik, real estate coach Carter.
I know him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How long you been out in Cali?
My whole life, for the most part. I was born in Georgia, and then kind of moved out here like early elementary school. Wow. Been in California for the majority of my life, but I don't invest in California. We buy a lot of properties in the Midwest. So in Michigan, everything we own is in Michigan, long distance. It's not easy, but trying to find this stuff in California is impossible, man.
It's impossible. It's too high.
Yep. Especially if you want to build a portfolio. If you want to get one and be happy with one, maybe you can do it in California. But
nah. You can't cash flow. Like I recently moved to Jersey, me and my wife, and we're not investing in New Jersey. All of our properties are in Philadelphia. Because New Jersey, all the taxes are higher, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a cash flow. I'm a cash flow investor, so I like to see my money now.
Yep.
Yeah. Appreciation is just a bonus.
Yep. Yeah. That's a safe way to do it.
Yeah. I'm pretty conservative.
Yeah, exactly. Where is this girl?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still work a day job, or are you just full-time investing?
Full-time. I've been in the game since left my day job in September 21st, 2011.
Wow. That's a long time ago. That's dope.
A long time ago.
We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah. I can go on and on, man. So whenever you're ready for me to start, whatever, just prove me, tell you whatever.
Here she goes. Cool.
Hi.
What's going on?
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Virtually, right?
Right. Sorry to pop in late. I had my time off.
Yeah, we're all in different time zones.
All different time zones?
She's central.
Where you are? Yeah, I'm central. I'm in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm in Philly.
Okay.
Well, right now I'm in Jersey in my home, but the investing is done in Philadelphia.
Cool. I'm sorry. So you guys, are we just gonna pick up where you guys left, Charles?
We didn't even start. We're waiting on
you.
For
real?
Yeah, we didn't even start. Nope.
I had a baby emergency like 10 minutes ago, so I had to change a diaper and do all that stuff. So I had to push it back a little bit.
Cool. Well, I'm ready.
All right. So this is the Todd Capital Millionaire Podcast, episode 142. My name is Charles Oglesby, also known as Todd Millionaire, the founder and director of the Todd Capital Investment Club that has over 300 members, here with Miss Rashauna Scott, the co-host. Make sure you leave us a rating and review. We need 5-star reviews that help us move up in the rankings so that then we can get this message out to more people. Thank you all for tuning in. The purpose of this podcast is to share the stories of successful African-American business owners and investors so that people can hear the stories of successful examples because they exist. We want people to learn that business and investing are the true keys to financial success and generational wealth. With us today, we have Mr. Justin Smith. He is a real estate investor out of Philadelphia. He recently had a post go viral where he was talking about all the properties he bought for his daughter before she turned 2 years old, but he's actually been a real estate investor for a long time before then. He retired from his job in 2011 and has just been kind of living the dream, I guess. So welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Guys.
So the question we always start with is, can you tell us what life was like growing up?
Well, yeah, definitely. So I grew up in a 2-family household. interesting, my dad was suffered a stroke by the time I was 8. So I really don't remember my dad honestly being healthy. So it's interesting. When I remember him suffering his stroke, I remember that day, like it was yesterday. Anything prior to me being 8, I really don't remember. So I really don't have too many fond memories of my childhood, honestly. Grew up with brothers. My mother, she really was the main provider because my dad has been disabled since the time I was 8 years old. Was always taught, go to school, get those good grades. Ended up really being a bad student in high school, right? Then eventually went to Indiana University. In my earlier years, I didn't really take school seriously. Actually, prior to that, I went to community college at Montco. So I went to a university, the community college at Montco. Did okay for those 2 years, then transferred. And I went to community college to save money on our tuition. I was paying for school out of our own pocket. And at the time, and still now, you think about, college, it's so expensive. And it was expensive back then, but it's really expensive now. So eventually went to IUP. It's a state school, a little bit more affordable. Minored in business, majored in psychology. I basically, when I look back now, I just really probably picked majors just so I could just graduate. Because I was just told, right, hey, you get that degree, you can, you're golden, you're gonna get that good job, right? And I crossed paths with a gentleman. His name was Craig, and he worked for a pharmaceutical sales company. Hold on, sorry. And Craig, he was had a high position in J&J, and he actually promised me a job, right? He promised me a job. Said, Justin, hey, you get this job, you graduate, get your degree, you get this job, I got you, pretty much, right? So that was extra motivation for me to, get out of college. So I was taking summer classes, nonstop. I wasn't even coming home for breaks. You think about that. So fast forward, I graduated and reality hit me. So when I graduated, it was a hiring freeze going on with that company. It was a hiring freeze. So I called him up and I said, hey, Craig, I graduated, I got my degree, got that job waiting for me in pharma sales. And he would say, no, there's a hiring freeze. So, I basically stayed at home, moved back home with my mom, right? And took little odd jobs, followed up with him again 3 months later. Hey, was that hiring freeze lifted? And of course he said, no. I don't know if that was the truth or if it was the excuse. But anyway, so I was lost. I was left pretty much disappointed, right? Here you have, I'm busting my behind to get out of college, get this degree, what society always told me, I would be okay. And here I am, basically with moving it, back home with my parents, no job, pretty much embarrassed, right? So my first exposure, when I look back on entrepreneurship, was probably, you ever hear of those network marketing companies?
Yep.
Yeah. So you're familiar with them. So I think my first one was prepaid legal. So I did prepaid legal. So, I would go to those events, you buy in, they sell you, I think I bought in for $300, you can make all this money. And one of the good things I did get from that, they introduced me to a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And in that book, they talk about what the rich teach their kids that the poor and middle class don't. So it's basically the tale of two fathers, one rich, one poor, right? And that book was just eye-opening, right? Here, the rich dad, he was doing real estate, stocks, basically investing in assets, right, that produce income. And the poor dad, he was a professional, had a good job, but he was still poor because he had no assets, right? So that just started changing my mind. My whole mindset started shifting right there. So I got the entrepreneurial bug at that point.
What year was this?
Say it again.
What year was this?
Pardon me?
What year was this? Like, what year was this?
Oh, yeah. What year was this? This was probably, I graduated, I was going part-time and full-time. So this was back in like 2004.
Okay.
So this was 2004. I got the bug. So from that point, I was known as probably hustle man in my neighborhood. I'm trying to find different ways to make money. I'm selling you prepaid legal one year, then I'm selling you mortgages the next. I'm selling basically anything where I could try to create a residual stream of income, right? So the network marketing was like basically passive residual stream of income. So I was, I worked jobs through that time from 2004 all the way up to 2011. I involved in numerous businesses, and one business in particular that I thought was going to be my my ticket, I should say, right? It was a group buying business. You ever heard of Groupon?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you heard of Groupon. So this was probably back in Groupon, probably around 2010. So around 2010, 2009, right? 2009, 2010, they had called me to try to, to be a rep. They were trying to open up a market in Philadelphia around that time, right? So I went through the interview process, and I was like, yo, this concept is like ingenious, right? So I was like, this when it first getting started. So what I did, I ended up not getting a job. So I ended up trying to start my own group buying business. It was called Frugal Deal, frugal with 2 U's. Basically raised capital, had investors from Florida, opened up markets in New York, was able to, franchise it in New York. Had a gentleman that wanted to open up a market in Africa, actually flew out to Lagos, Nigeria with him. What else we had a market? So we had Philly, New York, and Florida markets open. So I thought this was my ticket, right? So I was feeling myself. I was getting a lot of press. I was feeling good. So I was also running a job. I was working a corporate sales job, B2B sales for a telecom company. So a lot of times when I was out in the field, I was building my online business. Mm-hmm. So with Frugal Deal, I'm going door to door, had my pitch book, created a pitch book, getting clients, like really on the clock, right? So suffice, enough to say, I ended up getting fired. I ended up getting fired from that job, right? But again, I didn't really care. I thought Frugal Deal was gonna be my meal ticket. So fast forward probably 6 months from me being fired, we're probably having a launch party in New York. Press is coming out, everything, right? I get a call probably like midnight, the website crashed, right? The website's down. So the launch party is like 3 p.m. that next day. I'm basically up all day, all night with developers, right? Like, what the hell is happening? This can't be happening. So here it is. What happened was PayPal, this is what I didn't know back in the day, but I needed a dedicated payment gateway, a dedicated server, because we were doing a lot of volume with online orders. I had numerous markets going, New York, Florida, and Philly, right? So they suspended all my payments. They shut down all my payments. So here I had all these customers, right, that purchased items, and my money was just being held. So I had to issue a lot of refunds. I had to hold my head up high at that launch party. And, I ruined some friendships with that business because people invested their money, invested their time, and then the business just crumbled, right? So
the business kind of sounds like Amazon.
Yeah, but Amazon business didn't crumble though.
I'm saying that like you were selling everything. You were like an online mall.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Frugal Deal, our Groupon, like they have one product and it would be like a daily deal. So my twist was, instead of giving a daily deal, my key differentiator was I was doing the deals on a weekly basis. So my value proposition to the business owner was basically less time. I was taking less profit. I wasn't taking 50% of your sales, and I was giving you more visibility on my website, on my platform, where I had, 10,000 customers.
Yeah.
Make sense? So, so I was getting a lot of customers, but yeah, I mean, my infrastructure, looking at it now, it wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
So then then I basically pivoted, met a developer, and we started another like online business called Express Menus. I mean, that business is pretty much died pretty quickly also when Grubhub came along. Because Grubhub, and this was an online ordering business dealing with small mom and pop businesses, mostly pizzerias. We'll give them their own online platform and they could do like online ordering. So, I mean, that's a little bit about the early stages. And then, I can obviously tell you how I pivoted to real estate. You want me to keep going? But.
Well, I think Rashauna is going to ask the next question, but I wanted to say something that it kind of sounds similar to what I did. Is when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, the goal was to start a business to make money.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a gap missing. There's a gap where it's like, yeah, you start the business, you make money, but I found that you got to kind of match a business with your calling or a business with your gift. So it's not just that you're out there like, because I started like a tie company. I started a car wash company. I started a t-shirt company. I started all these different companies, but it wasn't really me. Now I have a company that literally is me. Like I live and breathe finance and investing. So therefore I just kind of tacked on monetization on top of what I love to do generally. And so I feel like it's just interesting because your story, you had all these companies that like were great companies, great ideas, but was it truly making a difference? Was it truly like actually fulfilling something other than just making the buck?
Exactly.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I actually saw a post recently that said more people that it said you will fail more times than your haters will ever try, you know?
Right.
And listening to you talk about, your previous business models and the previous business ideas that, didn't go so successfully, it makes me think about that because there's so many people who can judge, what you're doing, but they never get started. So with that being said, yes, the next question is actually, pivoting into real estate and how you ended up doing real estate and, how it has brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, good question. So in 2008, so I tell the backstory a little bit of this when I first started in wholesaling, but I didn't really take real estate seriously until that 2013. So I wholesaled my first deal. My first introduction to real estate was probably back in 2009 when I did my first wholesale deal, right? But then the market tanked, with the mortgage crisis. So a lot of my quote unquote cash buyers weren't cash buyers. They were dependent on bank financing. And when banks weren't giving out loans, everything dried up, right? So in 2009, I wholesaled my first deal and made a quick almost $13,000, like $12,725. I remember that first check. And then everything, the mortgage industry dried up. So I went back to get a job. But I told you I ended up getting fired in 2011. So I was hit with a crossroad in 2013 after those two businesses failed, Frugal Deal and Express Menus, pretty much, right? Either, Justin, do you go back and get this job that you're not going to be happy with, or you give this real estate thing another try? So what I did, I called up a gentleman that I knew was active in real estate, gentleman by the name of Mr. Ron. So I said, hey, Mr. Ron, could you help me find a property? So this gentleman, older gentleman, invested in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia area. So he said, sure, old timers always want to help the young bucks, right? So we go for a ride. We probably seen about 3 different properties that day. And this is in probably like December of 2013. We go around to see this one property look bad. I'm a new investor. I was like, this looks scary, right? It's just like a very ugly house. He was like, yeah, this is too much for you right now. So we go to another house, roof collapsing. You can see the studs and all this. Oh, this is too much for you too. He wanted to give me baby steps, right? To be seeing this third house. And I was like, he's like, this is the one. So it was like almost like a cosmetic rehab, right? So I ended up getting this property for $22,000. But again, I just lost a lot of money on these two business ventures. So I was pretty scared because I needed money to acquire the property and also fix it up. So I wasn't familiar with loans or hard money loans. Again, I didn't have a job. So I'm just draining my bank account at this time. So I called up a friend of mine by the name of Earl, another motivated, ambitious young man that I know wants to do real estate. So we ended up partnering on this first deal, right? So our first deal, we got it for 22. We put about 30,000 into it. We ended up selling that house for $93,500. So the total net profit after commission fees and all that was like $34,000. So we split that two ways. He got 17, I got 17. Also with our principal back, right? So then it was game on. So after that experience, I learned a couple things though. I did hire a contractor that really talked a good game, but didn't deliver, right? Knowing what I do now because I'm a licensed general contractor myself. That project took about 3 months, and it was a cosmetic. He didn't even get out the kitchen. He didn't get out the bathroom. You know what I mean? None of that stuff, right? We kept the same existing floors, and this project still took 3 months, right? So, I probably overpaid for the renovation of it, knowing I know now. And the project shouldn't have took that long. So that was a lesson I learned early on. And again, I was out in New York dating a young lady out there. So, I needed somebody in Philadelphia to do this renovation. So from that point on, I took those profits and then I did another flip. Well, the second flip, I leveraged a little bit of my money, but I was raising private capital. At that point, I was giving 30% returns on investments. 30 to 40% actually returns. So go ahead.
I don't mean to butt in, but how are you keeping your deals profitable if you're giving such a big ROI to your partners and investors?
Man, those deals are very profitable. So my average flip, I was probably making, $50,000, right? I'm all in on these properties, I'm buying them for 22, 28, right? I'm selling them for the one I sold for 93.5, the second one I sold for 110. Listen, I got another one. Got it for 18,000, right? I was probably all in on that one for all in between acquisition rehab 50,000. I sold that for like 115, right? So I had a huge profit margin. So if I'm giving you a 30% return on your investment. So if you give me 30,000, I'm giving you 30,000 plus 9. You get it? Mm-hmm. That's a 30% ROI on your money, right?
Yeah.
Get that nowhere.
You're probably finding people that are motivated to work with you at that point.
Say it again.
And so you're probably finding that people are motivated to work with you when you're giving them that much money back.
Exactly. But also, I wasn't as savvy as I know now. Those deals are done. I would never do that. But when I was getting started, I didn't know about hard money, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm looking like, hey, if I needed 55,000 and I can leverage somebody's 30,000 and I don't have to put that much money out of my own pocket, right? I would still put some of my money into the deal, but I wasn't putting the whole 55,000 or the whole $60,000. Mm-hmm. It makes sense?
Yeah. Right. So it sounds like what you're saying now is you wouldn't give somebody 30%.
Oh, hell no.
No, I'm not crazy. And so this was what, 2015, 2016? Yeah,
so this I was aggressively probably doing those flips 2014, 2015, and my last big one was probably 2016, correct.
And what was your main source for finding those deals? Were these just like on the MLS, on the market, off the market, auction sales?
So some of them were, marketing. I would, do mailers and campaigns like that and postcards. Others I purchased from off-market deals from realtors. Others were tax sales. At that time, I would go to the auction, and I would have to buy some properties, but I have to maybe sit on them, right? for the redemption period, especially if it was a tax sale. You want to sit on that property for like a year, right? So the one I got for $18,000 was a tax sale. I held that. I got it in 2015. I didn't start doing renovations until, really late 2015, and sold it in 2016. So I was buying deals from the tax sales. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I mean, you were able to create those spreads because you were able to get creative on the acquisition side. And so that's why, I asked, like, are these on the market? It sounds like all of them were off the market. You aggressively went after them. Yep, good. Yeah, you aggressively went after them and you were marketing them yourself, or like you said, you went the tax lien route, which I think we have a lot of opportunity that's going to be coming up for getting discounted properties very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So you went from wholesaler to investor. A lot of people, they just strictly stay wholesaling. What motivated you to go from wholesaler to actually start doing your own deals?
I'll tell you right now. So a couple of things. Well, my one lesson was, remember that deal I made about $12,725 on? My first deal? Mm-hmm. That guy, knowing what I know now, I got that under contract for $97,000. Flipped it for $110,000. Okay, $110,000. That's $13,000 right there, right? This gentleman, when I looked 2 months later, he sold it for $165,000. Knowing what I know now, he had to put no more than $10,000 in renovations in that property. So I'm going to say, give him the high number of $10,000. Mm-hmm. So he's all in at $120,000. He sold for $165,000. He made, gross $45,000, let's say after taxes, a quick, $35,000, $38,000 in about 2 months.
Well, I think what's also interesting is, based on your strategy, you're still kind of wholesaling. You're just wholesaling to yourself.
Yeah, I would tell people I'm a horrible wholesaler. Like, because if I find a deal, I buy it. So I'm a horrible wholesaler. Like, yeah, but that's correct. I wholesale to myself.
So fast forward to today. Actually, let me back up a little bit. So the good thing about it is that you took those wholesaling strategies, those marketing strategies that you learned, like you said, direct mail and things like that, and you're keeping those deals for yourself. I mean, I wouldn't say you're a horrible wholesaler, but the great thing about it is that you're taking those marketing strategies. But I did want to ask, so today, what's your main strategy today? Are you still flipping a lot? Are you more so buy and hold? I know you say you have your general contractor's license. Are you doing GC work for other projects? Like, what does real estate for you look like today?
Yeah. So paint a picture of real estate. Construction company since 2014. I'm a buy and hold investor. So I might I seldom do flips. I might did one last year or so, right? So I buy and hold. And I also do GC work for other investors. So construction is my job, and I funnel that money to buy properties to keep building that passive stream of income through rentals.
Mm-hmm. And so what made you transition from flipping to holding?
From flipping to holding? So a couple of reasons. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's easy. It's an easy question, guys. So flipping to holding, I mean, one, when you're selling, I'm paying a lot of that capital gains tax because I was selling in under a year, so I'm getting hit for 25%. And also the cash flow, right? It's just long term. Give you an example. If you have let's say some of these properties are cheap, right? So I'm all in $35,000, $40,000, and if you're renting them $950, you take that over 20, 30 years. How much did he make on that $35,000 house?
Yeah.
Versus if you flip that, right? If I flip that, let's say that $35,000 house, it's in a not so good area. The most you're going to sell that for is $60,000. So I make $25,000. I still going to get taxed on that. The $25,000 is really only $18,000, right? Meanwhile, I could have rented that out for 20 years and made $250,000 in that same house.
Yeah, it's like house buying. Brian says cash flow adds up.
Yeah, but it's nothing like it.
What's dope is if you buy a good deal and you renovate it, you still get the equity. You just didn't sell it. It's not, you keep the equity and you get the cash flow. So you really eating, man.
Yeah, and you get the tax advantages. I mean, it's just nothing like it. It's nothing like it.
I'm glad you broke that down. I'm glad you broke that down because there's a lot of investors who want to get into fixing and flipping, but they don't understand everything that goes into fixing and flipping. And I mean, there's risk with every different type of investment, but like you said, the different tax advantages, the different tax savings and tax strategies. And so I'm glad that you actually broke that down. Like I have people who inbox me when they see some of my projects and they're like, man, I can't wait to get into flipping. And I'm like, it is not all that it's cracked up to be, trust me. but some deals are, like you said, better off as buy and hold.
Yeah, but I will say, I am strategic when I do flip. And what I mean by that is if I'm all in for a property, let's say 100, too much. Like I like to be all in. My all in number is about 65,000 and under between acquisition and rehab, 65, 70,000. So if I'm all in, I'm not going to be all in a property 150,000 and hold it as a rental, unless it was a multifamily and cash flowing, right? So give you an example. One of a recent flip that we did, we were all in probably about 150,000. We got it for 90, put 60,000 into it. We was able to sell that for 230, right? That wouldn't have been a good rental because that rental area would only rent for $1,300. That makes sense?
Gotcha.
So you have to know your exit strategy going in, right away. And I knew that was going to be a flip. I knew because it would have broke even as a rental property basically.
Mm-hmm.
But selling it, you can make that $60,000, $70,000.
So the market has changed now.
Absolutely.
From when you first got started. What are you doing differently now than when you first got started?
You just got to be more aggressive, man. I mean, deals are still out there. You just got to be more aggressive because there's more competition now. I mean, real estate is trendy, I have to say now. Like a lot of people are doing it. It's, saturating the market. You have a lot of out-of-state investors coming into the Philadelphia market. With real deep pockets, that are inflating in the properties. So I just think you have to just be more aggressive and more clever with your marketing to find deals now. Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel we're feeling the same thing in Chicago. So by us being not only in the Midwest, but being
You froze up.
Yeah, I lost her too.
Yeah, she froze up.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't. You're back.
Okay.
From the Midwest.
So Chicago is feeling the effects of that too. So like you mentioned, investors with bigger pockets that are coming in and moving the price up, right? There's a supply and demand effect that we are definitely seeing and feeling in the market. However, with the way things are shifting now, I think it's going to be interesting to see because, like you said, there are still deals out there, but you have to be buying deals at a deep, deep, deep discount in order for them to make sense. But like you said, it's all about your acquisition strategy, right? How you're knowing what your exit is before you even go in.
Yeah. So to kind of highlight a current event, I saw on your page you were talking about short-term rentals and people who are doing Airbnb during the coronavirus, they're feeling it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, me too. I'm feeling it. So, with Airbnb, obviously with the coronavirus going on right now, people are not traveling to these properties. So if your portfolio was dependent upon strictly short-term rentals, things like Airbnb or Booking.com or what have you out there, you could be in trouble because a lot of these people are canceling. Like we literally went from like 2,200 to 0 in the month of March, so everybody is just canceling, and rightfully so. It's a virus going around. It's a pandemic. So people are canceling. So that's the issue with the short-term rentals right now. So I think it's important for people to have a, diverse rental portfolio, a mixture of cash tenants, government funding, what they call it, Section 8 here. Yeah, and short term. But if your portfolio was strictly dependent upon short-term rentals, you're in trouble right now.
Yeah.
Now, were your Airbnbs, do you own your Airbnbs outright, or were you doing like the arbitrage?
No, yeah, we own it. We own the condo. Yes, we have debt. We have a mortgage on it though.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with the arbitrage. Yeah, the subleasing, or however you want to call it. That business, individuals who are in that business are really, really taking a hit.
But what's interesting though is a lot of these places, they can't evict you. So, I mean, I think you might have accumulated rent that you owe. That could be difficult, but they can't evict you. I just feel like when people go into business, you also got to protect that business. You got to protect it with reserves. And so you got to keep the cash on the sidelines. People who are doing Airbnb were making big bread. So just because you're making big bread doesn't mean you got to spend big bread. You got to still have an eye for when things aren't always in your favor. But also there's other opportunities out there. You can always do long-term rentals. And you might have to take a discount on that rental to get somebody in there quick. I would rather have somebody paying 95% of the rent or 90% of the rent than me just taking a big L. And you might have to write something in that clause where saying, hey, I can terminate this contract at any time because I've given you a discount. But there's ways to get out of it if you think, but it's tough. If you're in that situation, especially guys with these big, huge portfolios, like I kind of feel bad for them right now.
Yeah, I do. And it's funny, man, you talk about Airbnb. That's one of the things that, back when I lost my job, that saved me, man. That helped me pay my mortgage back in, when I started doing Airbnb, like 2011. Like I was doing that, man. I look back, that was probably my first taste of that rental income. Because I was always, my whole mindset is how can assets pay for your lifestyle? If I want a better car or a better house, how can my assets pay for that? And that's how I look at money now. Like I don't care. I tell people that all the time. I don't care if you're making $1 million on your business. If your lifestyle is dependent on that $1 million, you're in trouble, right? Base your lifestyle off of assets. Mm-hmm. Assets, and that $1 million is just a surplus, just extra bonus money, and that's the whole mindset.
100%. So is that a house hack? You had a room that you're renting out, or how did that look on that Airbnb?
I was renting out my whole house. So at the time, I was,
you did the Doug Depp, man.
Oh, yeah. Doug, I know he was aggressive though. He was in his garage.
Right.
Yeah. But now I was taking my whole house, and I was, had, lady friends. So I was dating. I was in the dating game at the time.
Yeah.
So I was staying with friends, or
Okay, that's dope, man. To leave your house hack your Airbnb, your house, and just go stay with somebody. That's dope. Yeah. Because I know people do that when times get hard. They're like, I'm gonna go bum it on the couch real quick.
Yeah. Like, man, I was couch surfing, or I was dating, so I stayed with my lady friend, and
that's dope.
Do things like that, man.
That's like Doug Depp, but like a different type of Doug Depp. That's dope. So before we talk to you
about the player version.
The Bill Bellamy version. I want to ask you before we get to talking about your daughter's properties is what was your most successful deal for your personal portfolio?
I would probably say one of the first rental properties I started in 2014. I bought a duplex. Gentleman sold it to me for $12,000. And I knew, and I was listen, Charles, I was broke back then. Broke. So it's funny, my wife, who is my wife now, and I told her about the deal when we were dating, and I was like, she's supposed to be my partner on that deal. And I was like, I brought it to her. She was nervous because she never did real estate, and I was like, we got this deal, it's $12,000. I knew it was a no-brainer. And mind you, I was broke. So I needed money. So she basically bailed out on that deal and left me hanging, right? So I was like, listen, I just wiped out everything, every little bit of money I had, and got that deal for $12,000. I knew it was a good win. A duplex, it just had a lot of trash in it. Like the renovation, hardest part of the renovation was the clean out. After that, it wasn't that bad, right? So this property is probably worth about $180 right now. $180. We get $1,700 a month. I haven't raised rents on that property since 2014. I'm the type of investor, I try to make it affordable for the occupants of the property. As long as taxes are not increasing crazy on me, I'm not really doing rent increases year over year at all. So, we own it free and clear. We're all in on that property, $52,000. But yeah.
So by you being broke, so like you say, you exhausted like everything in order to purchase the rehab. How were you able, to purchase the property? How were you able to fund the rehab, or was it the same thing?
Yeah, it was the same thing. So remember, that was around the same time I was using private money and doing flips. Mm-hmm. So around that same property, around that same time frame. So I had that property going. So I tied it up for $12,000, and I also, during that same time, I had a flip going, leveraging private money. So I was able, once that flip, there's a property on Walton Avenue, sold, I had the funds, to finish the renovation on the other property.
That's dope.
Yeah. So I did one unit at a time. I didn't go in there rehabbing the whole unit. I did one, got it done, and then when I had more money, did the other unit.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I like that.
Makes sense. Yeah. It's like you robbing Peter to pay Paul with your own deals. It makes sense.
But it's also finding a way to make an asset pay for something you want out of life. Yeah. So it's like, now it's like, hey, how am I going to fund this rehab? Well, I might have to do a flip to pay for the rehab. Exactly. Which is going to allow us all to win on both. That's dope, man.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you're leveraging other people's money.
Yeah. I did a lot of OPM at that point. It was private money. It wasn't hard money. It was private money. But I was giving out hefty returns, though. I look back now, I probably would have actually made more money if I was probably leveraging hard money, giving out 30% rate of returns, though.
Yeah. Now, did you start your general construction company because you were, tired of working with other contractors, tired of dealing with them, or what was the driving factor for that?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. I got burned, a couple times in my earlier projects. Quality, overcharging me, and time were my main factors. And I knew this. I used to go walking on a job to see what they were doing. The GC, he's just watching everybody work. So I learned that all it is a management of people. And if you can the right team, game over. So I built businesses before. This is easy to manage people, and then and I'm pretty much hands-on. So I'm like a busybody. So I just can't be on a job site and just watch people work. If I'm on a job site, at least I'm sweeping or cleaning. I'm doing something, right? I might not be a skilled carpenter, but I can at least help to keep the job site clean. And my guys like that. They go to bat for me. I've been with the same crew for about 4 years. No, longer than that. Damn, since 2014, same guys. Yeah, time is flying.
But I would say one thing about real estate compared to the other businesses that you started is the money is still in the property. So you're raising private money, and it's not like you're investing in marketing or investing in the product. And so I feel like you have that security on the back end to know, like, if this project doesn't work, and at worst, you might lose 10 to 20% if we have to liquidate it, but you're not losing everything like if you're investing in a tech company. So that's dope too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a safe investment, man. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I think real estate, and I stand by this. It should be like that anchor. It should be the foundation. Whether you're an athlete, lawyer, doctor, anybody, you should still have that anchor. Because if God forbid something happens, you still have that other stream of income.
Right. It's a lot easier to start a business when you got that income from property coming in. Yeah. So the post says, father purchases 9 properties for daughter before she turns 2. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my daughter, she will be 2 come May 30th, 2020. So me and my wife devised a plan, and my partner is my wife. Right, she has been definitely a motivating factor in building this empire with us for our family. So kudos to my wife. But so when we had my child, we both see the benefit of real estate. At that point, we've been building our own portfolio for 4 years. So what better way to start buying some of these properties and, putting in my daughter's name. So we open up a company in her name and start buying property and earmarking each one for her. So hence the 9 properties and under, before she turns 2. She's not quite 2 yet.
I love it. Are all these properties rehabbed, or are they in different phases of rehab?
Every last one is rented. Out of the 9, probably 3 have mortgages on them.
That's dope, man. So let's talk about how you constructed it, man.
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, Rashauna.
Go ahead.
So I was going to ask you how you put that together. That's impressive, man. Like, I mean, a personal portfolio that has only 3 properties with mortgage on it is impressive. How did you guys do that?
Yeah, so what we do, our strategy is we buy cheap properties, right? So, like, literally very cheap. 18, 15. The past 3 properties we just recently acquired. One was 15, one was 30,000, one was 19.5. So a lot of those properties in the portfolio, they're cheap. They're $15,000 properties, $18,000 properties. So what we do, a lot of we live a very modest life, I should say, right? So we reinvest money back, like basically a lot of our money after our emergency fund goes back to buying these properties and going over and over and over again. So we would leverage, if we're pulling out equity on one, that can help us buy 2 others free and clear. So that's how we do it. So give you an example. The one property, we purchased this, one of the first ones in our portfolio. We purchased this for, $18,000. We were all in on this property, I want to say about 65, and it appraised for 165. That's $100,000 worth of equity, right? So on that one, we'll refi on that particular one at 70% LTV, right? Mm-hmm. Right, 70%. And mind you, we bought that property, did everything on that cash. So we're $65,000 cash. Now we get our money back, right? So basically, we have, I don't got my calculator, but 165 times, I think the mortgage on that property is actually like 120, right? So I think it's like 120 on that property. So that's 120. We could do damage on the next couple properties with that straight, right? Then you do it again. So for everyone that we may take a loan out on, we're going to do a couple more free and clear. So the mix of our portfolio is basically right now 70-30. 70% free and clear, 30% have mortgages.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Are you still today acquiring them the same way? Like, are you still going after tax sales and auctions, and are you still doing direct mail and using those wholesaling techniques to find those deals? Because you have a lot of people who say, like when we were talking about it earlier, you were buying properties at 10, 15, 20,000, 5 years ago, but you're still doing the same thing today. They have a lot of people that say, I can't find these deals. I can't find deals.
I hear that all the time too, right? So now I will say, the tax sales, I've been very frustrated. I haven't been to an auction in probably over almost 2 years at this point because the prices are just too high. So my main way of finding properties is just going directly to the homeowner, whether it's door knocking, whether it's direct mail, whether it's calling. I'm going directly to the source. That property, I can find a deal from wholesalers every now and then. That was a deal out of the 3 I just told you that I purchased $30,000. That was from a wholesaler. He had it under contract for $20,000 though. So, but that property also appraised for $178 because we increased the value. We basically turned a 4-bed and 1-bath property to a 5-bed, 2-bath property. So
nice. And then these are all. So these are all still in Philly. Like, are these in a city or in a suburb?
These are all in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I buy in what people call the hood.
Yeah. Love the hood on this show.
I love the hood.
So my question is,
the hood's not the hood no more though. It's changing.
It is. What would you say is the hardest part of building that portfolio for your daughter?
The hardest part? Probably finding deals that fit my criteria. I mean, the deal finding is definitely more challenging. If you go back from 2014, 2015, there were a lot more deals, 10, 15, a lot more deals under $20,000, I should say, right? Now, those same deals come across my desk, people want $40,000 for them. You know what I mean? So right. The hardest thing is me trying to, and I know I want to pay a premium to keep growing. I understand that. That's the hardest thing, just the deal acquisition at the price points that I want.
What would you say is the most rewarding part of building the portfolio for your daughter?
You're building a legacy for her, man. I know as I keep going, and God willing, she loves real estate as much as I do, right? And she manages this portfolio. It's going to set her up and her kids up, and my great grandchildren up forever. So the most rewarding part is I know the work that I'm putting in now can pay, 100 years from now, as long as you maintain these properties.
Absolutely. So when we talk about the structure that you have set up, like, are these all in one LLC? Do you have separate LLCs? Do you have them in a trust? Can we talk about that? Because I feel that some of our listeners are listening, right? They hear what you're saying, but they don't know like the how. Like, how should I go about structuring, buying multiple properties for my kids, especially even if I'm just getting started?
Yeah. Okay. No problem. I answer that question. So as you grow, well, I'll tell you what I do now. So I'm not putting each and every property in each individual LLC, because that would probably honestly be a tax nightmare. Now, I understand why investors do that from a liability standpoint. If someone falls on one property, they can't sue all your assets. I get that. I totally get that. But God willing, that hasn't happened, and hopefully it does not happen. So what I'm doing is I'm putting, let's say you put a dollar amount. Let's say that portfolio is $1 million. So let's say 10 houses, each, valued at ARV $100,000. You could put them in that LLC. Then let's say the next 10, this LLC. The next 10, you get what I'm saying. So if something did happen, and that number might be $500,000, whatever that number is, you have to be comfortable for. So if something happens, that LLC is liable, not your whole portfolio.
Right.
So that's personally what I think works the best. But it could be 5 properties, it's 10 properties, whatever the case may be. Whatever you're comfortable with, put a dollar amount on that portfolio, and then start, breaking out different LLCs. That's how we're building this thing.
I think that's important because sometimes people try to get a little bit too complicated and sophisticated before they grow. And so you just grew it and you're like, hey, I'll keep it. It's not the most fancy structure, but it's a structure. We're going to make it work.
Yeah. And I'll give you another key game, what I did. So I was intentional about buying actually a few properties in my personal name. And I'll tell you why I did that. It's easier to get HELOCs, home lines of credit, on your personal name because banks are more comfortable as you as a personal guarantor rather than, Justin Smith's LLC, right? Mm-hmm. And a HELOC is different than a cash out refi. A HELOC, if I have, let's say, 3 properties that I knew they were free and clear and I knew that they'd be worth, let's say, $150,000, and I knew I can go to a bank and say, pull out 70% line of credit on those properties, it's easier to do that. So now you're becoming your own bank.
That makes sense? Absolutely. That's dope. I still can't get over the fact that instead of actually like saving the money, you just do a deal and the deal funds everything. That's so fire to me. My question is, what do you plan?
Reserves, your emergency fund, I mean, my mentality is money should always be working for you. And Charles, like, I'm a disciplined person, but, I know the old me, you see, you have a good amount of capital, I might start doing bad things with that money. I might want to start buying this or buying that. So money's like a hot potato. You get it, you got to put it back out. You got to put it back out.
Yeah, because if you don't, you're going to put it back out anyway. So you might as well be deployed into, an asset.
There you go. You got it. You got to put it back out. It should be working for you. Sitting in your savings account getting 0.00001% interest ain't it.
Cool. So you definitely hit a lot of very, very dope topics. I learned a lot. Hopefully Rashauna learned a lot. I know the listeners are going to learn a lot. So we're going to ask you the last few questions. I'm adding one cool question in there. And the first question is, what is one thing you would buy if money was not an issue?
You know what? I want a Maybach. Yeah.
With the driver too?
With the driver too. Yeah, I drive a lot, so I just want to be in the back of the seat reclining. You know.
Like, big business is from Philly too, man. Everybody's in Philly.
Yeah, everybody's in Philly. Yep.
Yeah. So pulling up to your properties, getting out the back when you go and check on your job.
You know, you can't do that. You might get hit over the head.
No, I know.
In the hood. Who is somebody that you look up to and why?
I look up to and why. I'm a Jay-Z fan, man. You know, I would say he built his empire. You know, that man's a billionaire from the ground up, from nothing, right? From Marcy Projects, and now billionaire. Yeah, like has a great life. Did it all from the muscle, you know. So that's one of the people that, you know, I definitely look up to and admire his story. So Jay-Z, yep.
What's interesting is I like Jay and Dame, but it makes you wonder if they were right when they told Jay that he would make more money if he kind of split off from the whole Dame Dash thing, because he blew up. He's definitely massively wealthy, but we'll never know.
Yeah. Never know.
So you mentioned Rich Dad, Poor Dad earlier. Do you have another favorite business or real estate book, or what would be your favorite business or real estate book?
My favorite, I like The Millionaire Next Door. I like that one. Yeah, I mean, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you know, I won't say I read a ton of books. Honestly, you know, I read Think and Grow Rich, by Napoleon Hill. You know, those are probably the main books.
And then what do you think sets apart successful investors from those who give up or never get started?
Consistency and discipline. You got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined, period. Because when I think about, again, I was discouraged when I wholesaled my first property back in 2009, right? I wasn't consistent. You know, I could have tried again, but you got to be consistent and disciplined, right? And also, you have to have the mentality, you make a bunch of money. Most of that has to go back to asset acquisition over and over again. Not make a lot of money, go get a bigger house, not make a lot of money, go increase your lifestyle. You know, like the goal for real estate investors or people in general, right, to achieve financial freedom. And financial freedom all depends on your lifestyle. I like to say all the time, like if you have a lifestyle like a Jay-Z or a P. Diddy, right, you know, $1 million a month expenses, you need a lot of income coming in, right? But the average American, you know, if you're making $5,000-$7,000 passively, you should be okay. Right. Yeah. So, and you know, so you don't have to make, you know, $100,000 a month to achieve financial freedom. Your financial freedom is strictly based off your lifestyle. And once you identify what that number is, then focus on creating passive residual income to satisfy that number. And then everything else is just icing on the cake.
Donald, that's the drop, man. Great show, man. Right. I appreciate you. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they follow you? Where can they support what you have going on?
Yeah, definitely, man. Appreciate it. So you can find me on Instagram at JES Capital Investments. JES Capital Investments. That's where you can find me.
Dope. Cool. So Rashauna, can you invite people to the Infinity membership?
Oh, yeah. So I have an online women's group where we discuss all things real estate investing. And luckily for me, I have a lot of amazing friends who are very successful in different industries and investing, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, holding, general construction. And so it's really a sisterhood and a community where we get to dive deep into just the ins and outs and the ups and downs of this business, and especially being a woman in this very male dominated industry. And so you guys can definitely find out more at bit.ly/Infinity membership.
Yeah, and we got that commercial on the show too, so I hope you heard it. Check us out, www.toddcapital.co, also oglesbyholdings.co. Doing some great stuff. Episode 142 with the great guests. I learned a lot. I hope you guys learned a lot. Make sure you check him out on Instagram. He has a lot of really good content on there too, some good videos. So you guys learn from his Instagram as well. This has been a great show. You guys, make sure you leave those ratings and review. We like reviews, 5 stars. My name is Charles Oglesby with Rashauna Scott, signing off. Dope, man. That was good.